So we now have data inside our Excel spreadsheet. For those of you who have used Excel before, feel free to move quickly through this section, although you may find some useful hints and tips, so I do recommend you follow it through. Before we begin to manipulate and play with the numbers, a few important concepts need to be introduced. As you probably know, Excel operates using formulae, which can be typed and copied between individual cells. The following mathematical operators are used. For example, if we wanted to multiply this 5, we would equals 5, we would use the star button and multiply that by another 5, for example. If we want to divide, we use the forward slash, so equals forward slash, again 5. If we want to add, we use the plus. If we want to subtract, we use the minus button. And if we want to raise something to the power of something, we use the up arrow, which is shift key and number 6. Up and raise to the power of 2, for example, we get 25. Remember that Excel follows the mathematical order according to Bodmer's brackets, order, i.e. power operations, division, multiplication, addition and subtraction. If your formula is wrong, then your answers will be too. Garbage in, garbage out. Let's work through an easy example using the data we have added in. Label a new column in cell C1. Let's call it percentage. In cell C2, type the following formula. Equals B2 divided by 100. We can either do that inside the cell itself or by using the formula bar. So, for example, we could double click and just edit in here, equals B2 divided by 100. Enter. This should leave the value 0.05 in cell C2. If we wanted to alter the formula, we can do so by double clicking in the cell and altering the formula bar or in the cell itself. We want to perform this operation on all the cells in column C. Make sure that C2 is selected. Instead of typing out this formula individually, we can copy it down either by clicking holding on the small green square in the bottom and dragging down thus, or we can, when the small black crosshair is highlighted, double click on that green square, and when there's data in an adjacent column, this copies it all down thus. We can then control how many decimal places the data is displayed to using the following buttons, which are available when the Home tab is selected, and this number section here. It is these two buttons here. Experiment with them. This increases the decimal point, so here we have 3 decimal places, and this decreases. Let's give it a uniform 2 decimal places. The label at the top states that this data is percentage. Remember, I guessed the percentage proportion of guesses which will be in each age bracket. So let's convert this to percentage. We use the same area and we click on the percent icon. This changes all of the guesses to the percentage guesses that I used, and all of these should add up to 100%. You may be thinking, why didn't we just use the percentage button on the original data in column B? Give it a try and see what happens. If we highlight, we see ridiculous results. Excel works on the principle that 1 is equal to 100%, and 0.5 to 50%, etc. The final thing I want you to try before we get into some descriptive statistics is to format the data as a table. This allows us to sort the data in different ways and can be a good way to eyeball data before we start to hone in on some statistical analysis. With the whole table highlighted as below, as I'm about to do, click on Format as Table, again under the Home tab. You can choose any colour scheme you like, go crazy. I'm going to use the standard one, and my table does have headers, and click OK. If you get this warning cell, just click Yes. And here we have the data formatted as a table. Using the drop-down arrows next to each header, you can then sort the data, for example from largest to smallest, or smallest to largest. If we click on age, we can change this from largest to smallest, and smallest to largest. We can also use these this scroll button at the bottom to select individual ages. So for example, if I was interested in the percentage guess I made for those of you who thought I was 30, for example, I would do that, click OK, and I can see that I guessed that 30% of you thought I was aged 30. And we can reverse that, select all, and we have all our data set again. That finishes video 3, manipulating numbers with Excel. It's just a brief overview of what you can do. Next, we're going to start doing some descriptive statistics. So before we get there, undo all this and make sure we're back to the original data as it displays on screen.